I would like to congratulate our colleague from Nanjing Agricultural University, Jeshu, and her colleagues for this wonderful presentation. We have, I think, all the problem of newly introduced foreign species as ornamental. And in our case in Romania, we have several plants that have been planted initially as ornamental plants, and now they became invasive. We have them on river beds along the Danube. We have them in Danube Delta, in many other places. So we need to take care of this type of plants, and I think your presentation is so important by taking in consideration these aspects. In the second place, I would like to, as probably you know, to inform you that recently we signed a cooperation agreement with Nanjing Agricultural University, and I would like to ask you to introduce also our university, the University of Agronomic Sciences and Veterinary Medicine, within the group of One Health Association that you work with, and hopefully in the next future we can organize here in Bucharest or maybe in Nanjing a summer school on One Health. Why not? I think our students can cooperate straightly on developing this important topic. So thank you so much once again, congratulations, and best regards to our friends in Nanjing Agricultural University. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sonica. Thank you once again for your presentation. I propose to move forward. It will be a presentation related with tiny urban forest. The presentation will be given by one of our students from forestry specialization from our university, and he will present the opinions of around 200 students from our university regarding this new for Romania concept, tiny urban forest. So, Dan Toma, please.
Because you missed me, I came back. About the presentation. Oh. So my research is about the opinions of USVM students regarding urban tiny forests. About the introduction, this concept was made by the Japanese botanist Akira Miyawaki during the 1970s. And as a definition, the tiny urban forests represent all forests and tree resources in and close to urban areas. These tiny urban forests encourage biodiversity and also absorb more CO2 than plantations grown for timber. And the aim of this study was to assess the opinions of the USMV students regarding the importance of tiny urban forests. So about the materials, Google Forms questionnaire was created, and it contained 28 questions, 2 open questions and 26 closed ones. And they were about general data and also about opinions regarding this forest. The completion period was for 9 days, between 12th and 21st of October this year. And the questionnaire was sent via WhatsApp students groups. So about the results and discussions, the questionnaire was completed by 204 students. 71 of them were men and 133 were women. There were students from all the 7 faculties. The majority of them were between 18 and 24 years old, 170 students, but there were also students over 24 years old, as you can see. About the sectors of Bucharest, the results show that in all the 6 sectors there are students who live. Now, according to the questions and the answers of the questionnaire, the results are down below. 166 students visited at least one of the forests around Bucharest, and 44 of them not. 179 students consider the forests around Bucharest help increase the air quality in a very large extent, and 25 of them consider in a small and very small extent. 202 students consider the forests and green spaces inside the capital change their and life qualities, and 2 students do not. 194 students consider the forests and green spaces inside the capital change their and life qualities. I said that before. About the recommendation of EU regarding the average area of green spaces should be 26 square meters per capita. Only 22 students consider the index reaches this level in Bucharest, and 182 students do not. 202 students think the area of green spaces should be extended in Bucharest, and 2 students do not. 200 students consider the urban forests represent a way of expansion of green spaces in Romania, and only 4 students do not. 100 about the urban forest, about LA. 197 students consider the urban forest could be an ally against noxious, and 7 students do not. 199 students consider the urban forest could be an ally against the heat, and only 5 students do not. And 180 students consider the urban forest could be an ally against the city noises, and 24 students do not. About the activities in an urban forest, it was an open question where the students answered. Picnic spot, 166 answers. Barbecue spot, 79. Bicycle path, 140. Sports areas, 9 answers. Chill zone, 7. Space for pets, 2. Adventure park, 2. Festival, 2. Mini farms, 1. All of them 1, and nothing 1. 124 students consider there is a space around their home where an urban tiny forest could be created, and 78 of them do not. And if an urban forest would be around their home, 188 students would go very often and often, but 14 students would go rare and very rare. About who should set up a forest, the students answered that the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests should be responsible, municipalities, non-governmental organizations, forest districts, or all of them. About who should take care of them, of the forests, municipalities had 91 answers. Forest districts 19, Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests 80, and non-governmental organization 6, and all of them 8 answers. About the preferred tree species for forming an urban forest, 10 students answered with only softwood forests, 40 with only deciduous species, and 150 with deciduous and softwood species. About the number of species, the most of the students answered with the 3 or more species, 184, and some of them with only 1 species or 2 species. 200 students consider that it should be an evidence of the dried and damaged trees, and 2 students do not. About who should notify the identification of the dried and damaged trees, an open question was asked, and the answers are citizens 90 answers, forest districts 144, local police 75, municipality 101, all 5, and nobody 1. Regarding who should be responsible on extracting the dried and damaged trees, the students answered the municipality 97 answers, forest districts 98, and local police 8, and nobody 1. On 2021, a planting of 2,000 seedlings took place in Sector 1 Bucharest, and it created the first tiny urban forests from Bucharest. And 198 students consider this measure helped to expand the green space in the capital, and only 6 students do not. 188 students consider that at the level of the whole capital should be a project of formation of several tiny urban forests, but 16 students do not. And all the students consider that the air and life qualities will grow if a project, if such project would be implemented in Bucharest. About the conclusions, the actual questionnaire aroused interest around students because of the high number of answers made in a short time. The interest of students about the green topics is pretty high. There is a general negative perception regarding the average area of green spaces in Bucharest. The results show that there is a need of expansion for green spaces and in Bucharest. There is a need of places for activity in green spaces or forests from Bucharest. The public institutions and authorities are seen as the main responsible for creating and taking care of tiny urban forests. The questionnaire aroused more interest to women than to the men. The tiny urban forests are seen as a way of the expansion of green forests. Last but not least, the tiny urban forests are seen as an option of combating the spread of pollution in the big cities. And this is all. If you have questions about that. Yeah.
I would like to ask you, what are your opinion about the do not students? There are several questions with some 16 years. Do not see that it's a green area. Do not see, do you have some after question for them or no?
No, unfortunately I didn't, because I didn't think about that. But it could be a great question for another research.
Yeah, and also, what do you think about the picnic
The
destination?
picnic spots. Yeah, I mean...
the majority wants a picnic destination.
Yeah, well, I see that there are a lot of people who want to have some activities in the green areas. And in Bucharest, honestly, I don't know too many of them. And I think it is a good option for this type of for picnic spots.
Thank you.
Probably the 16 students that answered that they don't want a green area, maybe they were not real students, maybe they are robots, or who knows, artificial intelligence, that they don't need chlorophyll actually, and what the green areas are. What it's interesting to, the results are great, and I would propose you, and also to your teacher, maybe this type of research should be presented to the official people from the Ministry of Forest and Environment, to the mayor of Bucharest and of sectors. Our university has several agreements signed with the city of Bucharest and with the local sectors, but why not also to the other mayors that are around Bucharest. Bucharest is surrounded by several cities, and those cities have in property quite many lands that can be transformed in forest or in tiny forest, as you mentioned. So I think it's important to spread this information and maybe to present them in another form, just to understand how important these forests, urban forests, are for our people. And if we look at the residential areas in Bucharest, the highest prices are actually those apartments that are located close to forests as Băneasa or other forests that we have here in Bucharest. So congratulations, and let's try to promote this type of knowledge also for the people, for the political persons that are quite interested in the next year elections. So maybe this type of projects could be a good election subject, propaganda subject. And why not? Why not? Starting from there, they should keep their promises. Hopefully, thank you.
Well, this research was like an experiment in order to see how many people would complete this survey. And yeah, it could be a great option to make a research on the scale of at the level of the whole Bucharest. And we can try about that. Maybe in the next year to the next conference, you know. And if there are other questions. Okay, because I'm here, I think I will also take the lead for being a moderator, and I will present you the next presentation. The next presentation will be a video about a GIS approach to green register and tree management in Bucharest, Romania, District 1 case study.
Hello everyone, my name is Anca Strugariu. I'm a landscape engineer. I graduated landscape architecture in 2021 at the Faculty of Horticulture. After that, I followed my master's program in GIS Information Systems at the Faculty of Geography, University of Bucharest. I'm currently following my PhD studies. And today I'm going to present you the paper entitled GIS Approach to Green Register and Tree Management in Bucharest, Romania, a District 1 case study. To begin with, a green register is an information system that includes data. It has multiple benefits, such as developing strategies, having an effective management, which gets us to safety because it could prevent accidents from happening. It could also provide information on indices, such as the biomass level, the amount of trees and green spaces per inhabitants, and more. It is also used in order to build a database to support decision-making. However, the green register is not only an idea, it is actually an obligation according to the law. At the international level, many organizations and institutions made specific recommendations. The World Health Organization, perhaps, recommends at least 9 square meters per person. And while some countries try to achieve these minimum recommendations, others aspire for greater green areas such as the Italian law that suggests that new urban developments should provide at least 18 square meters per person. In Bucharest, the situation is not that great, unfortunately. There was indeed a green register made in 2010-2011 and published in 2013. However, multiple sources claim that it was made, so no updates of this has ever been made. As per today, we don't know how much green area per inhabitant we have. In District 1, the situation is a bit better due to multiple parks, as shown in the pictures. According to the legislation, to be named a park, green area needs to have at least 1 hectare. After showing you the blue-green infrastructure and citizen accessibility to parks in District 1, 2 geospatial analyses were made called NDVI and LST. They stand for Normalized Difference Vegetation Index and Landscape Surface Temperature. They were both conducted in the month of June, but of 2 different years, 2013 and this year. NDVI basically shows the health vegetation, ranking it from -1 to +1. So the higher the values, the healthier the vegetation is. For both analyses, it is showed that the highest values and the lower temperatures are indeed in parks, forests, and usually unbuilt areas. After the analysis, a correlation of the 2 indices was made. For the second part of the study, a green register was made for one of the District 1 parks, named Regina Maria Park. It was chosen a park over a boulevard in order to approach a much greater ecological diversity. The process was carried out using the QField application, synchronizing it with QGIS, and it respects in law. This was the main result after identifying the trees. Each tree received a unique identification code, and all the species have its own symbol. There were identified 410 specimens among 29 species, while only 2 species with invasive potential. The most common tree in the park is Tilia cordata, representing over 20% of decomposition, followed by Betula pendula and Tilia platyphilus. And there were also seen many species with only 1 specimen, representing each 0.2% of decomposition. The phytosanitary status was illustrated in 6 main categories as following: excellent, good, reasonable, deficient, dry or dead, and stumps. We also represented them on categories for a better understanding. And moving further, some interpretations were made, such as deciduous versus evergreen. As we can see, the deciduous are more spreaded across the park. The origin of species was also centralized, divided in native versus non-native. And although the balance between native species, which are 16, and the non-native species, which are 13, is approximately equal in terms of their presence in the park, native species do predominate when considering the number of specimens. Concerning the age categories, 26 specimens were identified in biological decline, which means that they were experiencing at least 1 phytosanitary problem endangering the viability of the tree. 179 young specimens and 2005 mature specimens were also recorded. Among the phytosanitary issues, the following were identified on site. At the Regina Maria Park level, at least 7 out of the 29 identified species in the field exhibit bacterial cancer. Another common phytosanitary problem in the park is mechanical damage, resulting from improper pruning and trimming carried out in the past, affecting at least 9 out of 29 species in the park. For the conclusions, a management plan was made. Dead or dry specimens, 3 in total, and those showing severe biological decline, 7, are proposed for cutting off, so deforestation. For the remaining 3 specimens that display phytosanitary problems, as showed before, or a deficient condition, 16 in total, it is suggested to use a tomographic device to assess the viability of the tree and to determine whether or not it represents a danger. Last but not least, we are all affected by the heat island phenomenon. In Bucharest, the average annual temperatures raises by 0.912 to 1.2 Celsius degrees compared to the surrounding areas. And in the summer, these values are so much higher, specifically by 3 or 4 degrees. Unfortunately, at this moment, Bucharest does not have a strategy or a plan to adapt to climate change, or a general urban plan, or basically any other instruments. And especially it lacks a green register. I would also like to mention that geographic information systems play a significant role by allowing the collection of such data and various spatial analysis relevant to the landscape and beyond. These are the references used among the paper for further information on the topic. And this was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And if there are any questions, I should be online to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we will have the last but not least presentation of this session. Sorry? If there are questions about this research.
Just a comment. It's so important to have these green spaces, green areas inventory in all our cities, and the research done by our colleague Anca Strugariu, it's extremely important. The idea is that, unfortunately, we can see in our parks many trees. Some of them are from species that are, as I mentioned before, maybe invasive species, and I'd just like to underline, for instance, Ailanthus altissima that grows everywhere, but other Acer negundo that has a very, very high propagation rate by seeds. In the same time, we can see quite many trees that unfortunately have health problems. They have been pruned heavily, or they have the bark destroyed for several agents. And when we have some strong storms or winds, heavy snow, we can find this type of trees that are falling on the roads or on the walking pathways. So it's quite important to know exactly what are the most healthier plants and how can we replace them, or how can we manage all these green areas. Once again, congratulations, Anka.
I think we will go to the next presentation, the last but not least. It will be about a comprehensive study of Tekirdağ Lake's ecosystem through conservation, ecotourism, and sustainable practices.
Share my screen. My name is Aya Wuzu. I am also a landscape engineer. I graduated from the University of Agronomic Science and Veterinary Medicine. And now I am studying at the University of Bucharest, a master called Smart Territorial Development. And today, I will present to you a comprehensive study on Tekirdağ lake ecosystem through conservation, ecotourism, and sustainable practices. A paper that I made with my colleagues Anka and the paper aims to present the ecological potential of the Tekirdağ area. Fundamental importance of embracing conservation and sustainability while developing and maintaining sustainable tourism. The site is located in the southwest of the country, in the immediate vicinity of the coastline. It's approximately 15 kilometers south of Constanța County. Tekirdağ Lake is the largest salt lake in Romania that spans of an area of approximately 1,200 hectares, with a maximum depth of 9 meters and a salinity level of approximately 70 grams per liter. Tekirdağ Lake and part of its surroundings are acknowledged as both Natura 2000 and the Ramsar sites. And in this graph, you can see the components of the Natura 2000 surface, with 59% being unirrigated arable land, 15.80 meadows, and approximately 3% swamps. With the least percentage, the industrial and commercial areas, the built areas, and sport and leisure. But we will see that in a moment because we have some maps also. As for the materials and methods, the study involved a holistic approach to Tekirdağ Lake, combining theoretical research with practical data collection, and to develop a strategy for the Shinkai Peninsula, which was our case study, with an emphasis on ecotourist principles. For the results and discussions, first we have the flora analysis, which was carried out on several vegetation categories: algal flora, coastal sands flora, marsh, and the confluence hills. And due to the concentration of salts, only species with bird inherent limits can survive in the lake water. For that, the algal flora is mainly represented by the Cladophora vagabunda, which is one of the essential components of the sapropelic mud. Known for its unique composition, the sapropelic mud is rich in minerals, humic acids, and organic substances, making it sought after natural remedy in biological practices. This is why Tekirdağ Lake is very known for this substance that everyone uses, and when you go there, they are all covered in this mud. Particularly interesting is the steppe flora and the vegetation of the limestone hills in the southwestern part of Lake Tekirdağ. These hills have maximum altitude of 40-50 meters, and in places with sarmatic limestone on the surface are known as the peony hills due to the large population of Thermopolia, which is a European protected species included in the annexes of the Pine Convention, together with another rarity, Achillea tragica, known also as Achillea foliata. This remarkable diversity underscores the lake's significance as a vital habitat for a wide range of species, contributing significantly to the overall biodiversity in the region. Here you can see the designated protected area with this black and white striped shape. Also the other habitats that are included in the natural protected area, and the Ramsar site, which are a little bit of agricultural habitat, and the anthropic habitat, which is the peri-urban one, with just a small amount of them. Here we also have a graphic with the total number of introduced species grouped by habitat, with a higher percentage on the Natural 2000 site, followed by the lake habitat, the agricultural habitat with 20 species, and then the peri-urban and urban habitats. For our fauna analysis, a number of species that have been identified are Artemia salina, for example, which is responsible for the formation of the sapropedic mud. As for our avifauna, of over 400 species reported so far in Romania, 264 species of bird have been observed in the Techergheal lake area, meaning over 65% of the species present in Romania. The lake is one of the main wintering sites in Europe for the red-breasted goose, for Branta oficolis. However, the surrounding region has been identified as a suitable habitat for more than 150 species of birds, as I said before, both sedentary and migratory. Among the vulnerable and threatened bird species in the Techergheal lake area, according to the global EUCN red list, we mentioned the Pelecanus crispus, Branta oficolis, Chilpus, Macrurus, and Falco cherub. And you can see a few pictures of them here. We also analyzed the relationship between ecosystems and pollution. The agricultural ecosystem causing minor soil pollution, the urbanized ecosystem, of course, they pose a few risks, and but the lake ecosystem plays a crucial role in biodiversity. For the second part of the study, after conducting the macro analysis on Techergheal Lake, we chose a case study of Shinkai Peninsula, which is marked here, as you can see, which constitutes an essential part of the Techergheal Natural Reserve. According to one of our analyses, it was found that the area is under considerable pressure due to anthropic activities that have disturbed the ecological balance. People are building houses on which are too close to the lake, which is a very big problem. Following these analyses, we also conducted a SWOT analysis that can provide valuable insight into the overall strategies and potential future direction. I will not get into details too much because we have a little bit more left, so maybe you can check it out later. We have the diagnosis, vision, and mission. The diagnosis is a loss of camping culture and bonal dimension and environmental values, and because of this, we chose this strategy. The development of a camping site, which is not as intrusive as other types of tourism, and other activities that can be that can have place in the peninsula, which are not invasive. The integration of ecotourist principles into camping sites development offers a blueprint for sustainable and ecological tourism. In this way, the camping responds to this requirement and is the most sustainable form of tourism. This is a little aerial perspective of the Shanghai Peninsula. And here is ecotourism identified as a specific form of alternative tourism. It is positioned as a solution that prioritizes environmental conservation, cultural aspects, sustainability, and educational initiatives, providing a framework for responsible, enriching engagement with Lake Tekergol and its unique ecosystem. And for the conclusion, we wanted to underscore the fragility of Lake Tekergol and that we can implement some measures that are not as invasive as the mass tourism. Can you hear me now? Okay, okay.
East-southwest winds and blocked the entrance to the Tekergol Gulf. So what is the situation now?
The lake is divided into three parts. The biggest part is the South Lake. The medium part is both a combination of salt lake and fresh water. And the last part is with sweet water. But nowadays, because of some not so okay practices, the salinity of the lake is not as it was before, at least for the biggest part, because of the water that the fresh water that goes into it from the city. So the habitats are in danger, especially the ones that live because of the salt in the water. So we have to take some measures for that not to happen. But the salinity has downgraded a bit.
To propose, I don't know, to create a kind of canal between the Black Sea and the Tekergol, to cross the national road that is nowadays in order to refresh the Tekergol Lake with salty water from the Black Sea, as it used to be? What do you think about it?
That is an interesting question. We'll have to think about it and research to see if it's a good idea or not. At first glance, I don't believe it would be a good idea because of the differences, of the big differences of each habitat, the Black Sea one and the Tekergol Lake one. But we will take into consideration researching also this part.
I'm thinking that the complex Razelm-Sinoe, that is in the northern part of Dobroja, used to have a link a canal with the Black Sea that was closed during the communist regime. And this affected quite seriously the population of red mullet, the kefali, the red mullet population that used to spawn their eggs in the Ras El Sinoe complex. So probably this can be also an idea of helping the population of Black Sea fish to increase by using this type of reserve. But it's up the scientists to decide. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again for your presentation. If there aren't any other questions, I would like to give the floor to Professor Stanica.
So, with this last presentation, the first session conclude. I would like to thank all the presenters on site and online for their effort and for their interesting papers. In the same time, I would like to thank so much to our moderators, our colleague Mihai Enescu and Dan Toma for their efforts. In the same time, I would like to underline the fact that the papers can be published in our journals. So please, the presenters to prepare the papers following the editorial requests of our colleagues and of the scientific committee. Please send us as soon as possible your full paper in order to be reviewed by our reviewers, official reviewers, by our scientific committee, and also to be published. So, Professor, we have yes, the microphone.
Well, I'd like to tell you something that maybe you don't discuss here. I'm from the faculty of NFG in Bucharest. My friend Marian Velcea invited me here. And I'd like to tell you something about the trees. Well, I have a house in Bucharest with a yard and some trees there. And one day a friend paid me a visit. Some branches had no leaves. And he asked me, why don't you cut all these trees, put some grass, some flowers here, and it will be very nice. Then I told you about a phenomenon that we are talking at my faculty, the convection phenomenon. I mean, if now I'm staying outside and the wind, which is cold, blows around me, I will feel that the temperature is less than it really is in fact. So what I shall do? I'm going near some trees, near a wall to feel better. The same is with my house. If there are some trees, especially in the north part of the house, then if the wind will blow, the speed of the wind will diminish, and the house, of course, will not feel that, but the temperature will be higher. So every month, I shall pay for the gas less, and the bill will be diminished continuously. This is another advantage to have more trees, even if it is not so nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I think the trees are always nice. And I remember that recently my friend Mihai Enescu organized here an important international conference on agroforestry. And we discussed here how important are the windbreaks, for instance, or the forest patches, or other forest plantation in the fields to protect our crops. Certainly, it would be great to have our cities surrounded by forests, surrounded by trees, and to have much more green spaces, green areas also in Bucharest, where we can see everywhere so much concrete and asphalt, and we all here in June, July, August, we can feel what these artificial building materials are, what negative effect there are for our well-being. Bucharest used to be a very green area. 100 years ago, if we go back to see some plans, some pictures of that time, we could see that Bucharest used to have even fruit orchards or vineyards, or every house has its own garden with trees and fruit trees and plants. So it was quite green, and we are still lucky to have around some patches of forest and some lakes, but we need to work to improve the situation. If there are other comments. If not, following our program, we would like to invite you to have a lunch break, and we will be back at 1:30.